Back here on the Meat Speak podcast, powered by the certified Angus beef brand. Brian Schaaf here with me. Joining us in the studio, it's not Chef Tony, it's actually our resident I don't know if barbecue aficionado is what you like. I mean, do you like being called a barbecue enthusiast? I mean, you're enthusiastic about barbecue.
I mean, look at me jumping up and down. That's excitement.
You can hear it in his voice even, right? Chef Michael Ollier, the gentleman who, if you have listened to other podcasts, he is certainly our go-to anytime we want to talk about subject that is very near and dear to my heart, lots of people I know's hearts, the world of barbecue. And specifically what we're going to talk about is a group of individuals who have taken some of the best things that humanity has to offer, barbecue and service. And really put them together. We're talking, of course, about the gentleman from Operation BBQ Relief, who we're going to hear from in a little bit, Mr. Stan Hayes, Mr. Jay Collins. You know, Chef, you have had a lot of interactions with these guys over the years. Can you talk and tell us about your perspective on OBR and how they came, really for you to know them to know you, and how you've interacted?
It'd be my pleasure. These guys are amazing, as you're about to hear. You're going to hear Stan Hayes and Jared Collins talk about their involvement and how Operation BBQ Relief got started. Our brand got started with them, I'm going to guess about 5 or 6 years ago, as I got more involved with really cultivating the barbecue community and working in step with them more intentionally as a brand. I would interact with these guys from Operation BBQ Relief, and it seemed that at every event, at every turn, we'd be bumping into someone from Operation BBQ Relief. And it was at first Stan Hayes, who's the point person and one of the founders, who really set the tone for Operation BBQ Relief in my mind. But they were present at seemingly every barbecue event that I was part of. And when you learn the story, when you start to dive deeper into their mission, and you realize that where they come from and where their heart compels them to go, you think, what can we do as a brand to be lockstep in with these guys? So it's been intentional that we cross paths, but it's been intentional of late. Like, we finally have found something that we can work together in, because it speaks to where we work in education, and it speaks to them in serving the community on a more daily basis. So you get to hear more about that from these guys.
We're going to change gears and bring on Mr. Stan Hayes, founder of Operation BBQ, and Jay Collins. They're going to talk about some of the good works that they have been doing, how they were founded, where they're at, and really what the future is of OBR, and most importantly, how you can get involved. So stick around. We will be back with Stan Hayes and Jay Collins after this. Back here on the Meat Speak podcast, powered by the certified Angus beef brand. Brian Schaaf here with me. Two special guests with an incredible story, marrying all things that humanity, I think, should feel good about. One being our military, two being barbecue, right? Joining me here, sir, guys, it's a pleasure. Mr. Stan Hayes, Mr. Jay Collins from Operation BBQ Relief. Guys, welcome to Worcester, Ohio.
Hey, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. You know, yesterday I got to sit in on a presentation that you guys gave to the full staff here at Certified Angus Beef, and I've been aware of OBR. But I don't know that I shouldn't say I don't know. I know for a fact that there are so many things that you guys do that you're involved in that were a complete surprise to me. Can you give us a little bit of a background on where the idea came from, how you got started, and how really has it turned into this gigantic movement that is still picking up momentum even today?
Yeah, sure. The genesis of the idea, right, was started back in May of 2011, the morning after the Joplin tornado. And as I tell people, and I actually tell my wife this many times, that it's her fault, because she's the one who really urged me to try to get the barbecue community together to go to Joplin. And instead of competing in a parking lot together, let's compete let's come together in a parking lot and cook food to help the people. And that's exactly what ended up happening. We hatched a plan in about a 15-minute phone call between me and Jeff Stith, who is part of, one of the co-founders of the organization, but not active in the organization any longer. Jeff and I, he got me into competition barbecue, so it was, hey, what do you think about doing? And, before you finish the sentence, he's like, man, I wish yeah, we need help. So this is a great idea. Yeah. And from there, about the third day we were in Joplin, we thought we might be there 4 or 5 days, serve 4,000 or 5,000 meals, turns into 11 days, 120,000 meals. But that third day, it was like that aha moment that we had where, Will and I are sitting there and Jeff, and we're talking to a bunch of people, and we're like, we realize that there's a huge gap that exists from the time a disaster happens till the time those sustaining organizations that are going to be there for weeks, months, years helping the community itself can get its feet underneath them. And so we realized that was our opportunity. And that was the time that we said, hey, you know what? We're going to turn this into a nonprofit, and we're going to use barbecue to do this. Did we ever think it would be where it is today? I mean, you fast forward 8.5 years, and, we've served 3,057,000 meals. We've been in 26 states. I think it's 64 disasters now. And that it's grown like that? No, we never. I mean, we did 1.2 million meals last year. Yeah. And, you look at that. But we did it in 75 days. And Will and I had been talking about this for a while, going, what do we do outside of disaster? I mean, we selfishly are engaging our volunteers and doing things for communities, doing things for military, doing things for first responders. We're not taking credit for it. People really don't know what's happening. But we're doing it because we don't want those people to just go away because we spent too much time. And we start thinking about all those things that we're doing and start brainstorming, and we end up meeting Jay. We're doing an event at Fort Bragg. He ends up being our point of contact. Things. We have a 6-month-long job interview that he didn't even know about. And as we're going through this, right, we really see this opportunity to take, those other 290 days of the year when we're not active in a disaster, to use those days to give back to communities and continue, showing the brand as that brand that wants to continue to help communities, whether it's during a disaster or outside of a disaster. And, from there, I'm going to let Jay take over, because that's really where all of a sudden we start bringing this brand outside of just the disaster world into the non-disaster world that really, I think, is pushing the brand further.
Yeah, no doubt. So, my background's a little different, right? I spent 23 years in the military. The majority of that either trained to be a Green Beret or as a Green Beret. Stan mentioned it was the world's longest job interview, right? And, I was at a speaking event in Durham, North Carolina. We had a volunteer there who said, hey, I love your story. I love your message, man, but you got to hear about this thing called Operation BBQ Relief. Man, we're out there making a difference. We're touching people's lives one meal at a time. And I was like, all right, man, I love what you're saying. Let's talk about it. And one thing led to another, and that led to Stan and Will and Joey and folks coming down there and feeding a few thousand people that worked with me. And, we started talking about, wow, man, this is a great concept. I love what you guys do. And then we came back again, and we really started grinding it out, saying, what can we do together? How can we take the power of the one hot meal that matters and its impact on a person, the way that person impacts a family, the way a family impacts a community, a state, and so on and so forth, and grow that outside the disaster footprint. Eventually those conversations turned into what we call the Always Serving Project, which is our non-disaster programs. I retired from the military. It's a young man's game being a Green Beret, and my time was done, and I was blessed to get to be a part of OBR immediately after retirement. So I came on in December of last year. We really cranked up the non-disaster programs with what we called our Breaking Bread Tour. Let me tell a little story here that Stan refutes a little bit, but I'm going to share it anyway. I walked in there after just getting hired, and I was like, hey, I want to do something kind of big when we kick this thing off, so here's what I want to do. I run and bike. I'm a pretty active guy. I spent time in the military. It seems like a logical thing. I'm also missing my left leg, so there's that other talking point. I was like, look, I want to take my love of athletics, our love of barbecue, and our love of making a difference, and I want to run, bike, and hand cycle from Los Angeles all the way to Tampa, Florida. I want to do about 60 miles a day. I want to do it in 50 days, and I want to feed about 100,000 meals as we do it. Kind of like Johnny Appleseed, but just with barbecue, right? And he's like, looks at me, Will looks at me. I didn't get kicked out. I thought for sure, man, they were going to tell me you're crazy, get out of here, you're fired, bye, right? But to their credit, they were like, all right, if you think you can do this, go for it, right? Well, we did it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Now, I will. The part of the story that he forgets is I did tell him he was crazy. There's no bones about it. But what I said is, and the challenge was, we've got to do this with a bang. We don't get a second chance to launch a program.
Yeah.
And so as you start looking at it, what's the best way to do it? And this idea really couldn't figure out a better way than doing it. I mean, but no bones about it. We did think he was crazy because there's not a guy that we know in the barbecue world that would have said, "Hey, I'm going to run, bike, and hand cycle 60 miles a day." You know, hey, I'd rather cook a brisket a day for 60 days. You know. And eat on each one of them, which would just be, I mean, at the end of the time, you'd go a year without even seeing a brisket. But, I mean, seriously, that is something that was so outside of who the culture of barbecue is. And so that was the way we could bring everything together. You know, it was really about expanding our boundaries.
Yeah.
No doubt. You know, it was outside the boundaries, but it wasn't. It's that community feeling, right? Mm-hmm. There's so much that's divisive these days. But what is barbecue about? Barbecue is not just about meat and about cooking food. It's about family. It's about togetherness, bringing people together. There's so much that's divisive these days. That's why we chose the name, the Breaking Bread Tour. You know, it's about reminding folks how much we have in common. Let's sit down, let's break bread, and let's do it with barbecue, and just bring people in.
Yeah. No, I think you touch on something. It's, you know, we've always kind of talked, you know, if the whole world were barbecue people, there would probably be, you know, the biggest disagreements would be, you know, smoke, you know, sauce or no sauce. Right?
Just rub that rub,
yeah. I mean, and when you think about it, I mean, the term barbecue and the way people look at it, not the competition guys, not the people that do it every day, but the general public. It is really a lot less about what is being cooked, and it is more about family and friends.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, you don't invite somebody that you don't like over to your house to a barbecue. You don't. It's a fact. I mean, barbecue's about celebrating. There's more celebrations that happen around barbecues and backyards than probably any other thing out there. And it's no offense to any other food, any other thing that goes on out there. It's just who and what we are. And so, you know, bringing that all together is something that we never thought of, really. I mean, that wasn't, we'd love to sit there and say that was the grand scheme as we sat it there in the parking lot saying, hey, you know what, it doesn't matter if, you know, Uncle Johnny burns everything, you know. It's still the people that are in the backyard, but at the end of the day, that's really what it's about.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those things, and I hope listeners will take away a couple big themes, but when you look at barbecue people, when you look at military people, I mean, you're really marrying, you know, two folks that really, you know, go about their business caring for others, taking care of others, taking care of their fellow man. It's a culture, you know, we obviously come from a food background, but the barbecue culture itself is so giving and welcoming. And I mean, I think every time I go to a barbecue function, it's like a family reunion. You know, even
That's
people
right.
who you've never met before. You know, I saw on your slideshow, you know, as you were biking and hand cycling across, you know, I saw your picture with Brad Orson. I mean, you know, representative of, you know, the best kind of people in the world. Well, barbecue and military people are always sacrificing, always doing. You know, can you talk about, I guess, what's next? Where are you guys going? You know, can you go a little more into the Always Serving project? The fact that you guys are doing, you know, a lot to not just feed military folk, but to teach them as well. Which,
that's right.
Yeah.
You hit on some key points there. Barbecue is always serving. Military, first responders are always serving. Each of us, no matter what we think, are always serving somebody, our community, our family. We're all trying to make a difference. It's how we unite people. I like to say it's good people working with other good people to do great things together, right? So the very center point of the Always Serving project is simple. We focus on first responders and their families, military and veterans and their families, and we also focus on those who need a hot meal. So we have some pretty great programs we're building up. We talked about the Breaking Bread Tour. We are going to do it again. Going to make a little plug out there, right? We're going to go from Margaritaville and Key West to Maine this year. We're going to do about 75 miles a day because 60 just wasn't quite enough. And we're going to feed as many people as we can and bring that love of barbecue and community together. We also have what we call our Barbecue Basics program. What this is our foray into education. It's about sharing the basics of barbecue, just what the name says. We take first responders, military veterans, or those who are down on their luck, and we sit them down and we teach them, here's how you select meats. Here's what this grill does versus that grill, low and slow, hot and fast. And this is what those things mean, how to apply rubs, how to cook a burger, how to cook a steak, how to, smoke ribs, how to do brisket, how to just make a meal for your family and community. And then the second day, we crank it up with a little bit of competition, because everybody loves a little competition, even if it's just for some bragging rights, right? And we do that, and then we do a big cook at the end. It may be, 100, 200 people. In Fort Bragg, just a few months ago, we fed about 5,000 soldiers and their families. And it's that barbecue spirit that we tie together. Next year, we're going to do 18 to 22 of those across the nation, starting on the West Coast all the way to the East Coast. It's going to be a pretty amazing footprint.
Okay. Well, no, go ahead.
So after that, we're launching what we call our Barbecue Basic Junior program. Now, this is one that's near and dear to my heart. As a poor farm kid from northeastern Montana, we lost our farm because of drought, because of poor economics. And, I grew up knowing the crop cycle. I knew how food was produced. But there's generations of people who just don't get it, right? The kids don't know what they don't know. Their parents didn't know what they didn't know. And their grandparents didn't know what they didn't know. They have low income, low expendable income. And the money they do have, a lot of them feed their families on unhealthy foods from the gas station, from the grocery store, things that frankly aren't nutritious. They take time. We want to show them, hey, look, here's what you can do. 25 meals on a simple budget, $7 or less, feed your family. We're going to teach the family unit, focused on the children the first day, to give them these skills in prepping, selecting, figuring out how to do these meals, right? And the second day, we're going to bring the family unit together, because that's really how you heal a family, is as a group together. We're going to target 6 of those next year as a proof of concept, with 2021 aiming at 18 to 22 of those across the nation. We have a few other programs as well that we're going to get into in the Fight on Hunger, but this is going to be that step into making a difference for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's really about how can we continue to do this, and we want to do it in a pragmatic way. We don't want to throw a bunch of stuff on the wall to see which one sticks. So we did proof of concept this year with Barbecue Basic, only doing 4 locations, right. And we have 110 alumni now from that. We have a Facebook group of alumni that's over 75, and that group is sharing now. That group is already going out and doing, and that's what it's about. If you can grab some people along the way to start doing things in their community, and now you start a movement. And so we take that to the Basic Junior, and we're doing the same things. But as Jay said, we're going to do 25 recipes, but we're going to do 25 recipes, and that concept's going to come from 25 kids. Or, well, probably not 25 kids, but it's going to come from kids, our kids. The ones that are in our book even. I mean, we have a book out there. We have kids that gave us recipes because they won a contest, and so their recipe for that contest is in that book. Well, let's take those, and let's put those out there. Make sure that they're nutritious. I mean, my son has an amazing burger, but you wouldn't put it on there with the amount of, sausage and everything else that he put on top of it. It's not, but you can massage those things. I mean, and if we can make that change, this doesn't, our Fight on Hunger focus isn't going to change the backpack programs of the world. It's not going to change these other things. It's all going to dovetail and work in conjunction with. And that's the big thing. Jay's got some amazing ideas, and I think you should share the one about the greenhouses, because This is the one that I think will probably be 2021 if we get this going.
So that's a projected rollout for that. But, we wanted to have something educational as a base level of this, because you can't get rid of hunger by throwing food at the problem, right? You have to educate people. It's a generational issue. But, the other side of this is people don't know what they don't know, and you can't bring everybody to a farm, right? No matter what you do, some people will never see this crop cycle up close. So what we're doing is developing aquaponics greenhouses. We can take 2 schools in inner cities, low-income areas, and really just show that crop cycle, right? It's going to be gifted to the school, no cost, nothing to them, and it's going to give them the fresh produce, the fruits, the vegetables, the things that they don't know or don't have access to a lot in the menu. But more importantly, it's going to show them, look, this is how little effort it takes to grow fresh vegetables and fruit. You can do it in your home. You can do it in your backyard. It opens up that opportunity of, wow, I can do this. My family can do this. Our neighbors can do this. There's no reason we can't do this together. It's about educating people with what they don't know that they don't know.
Yeah. Did you ever imagine when all this started? And I'm sure I know the answer behind it, but that you guys would be talking about, greenhouses and I mean, certainly, one of the things I love about barbecue is, there's not very many vegetables usually, but
Exactly.
but that it would really kind of take on this thing that it's not just helping people in need because of a disaster, but really it's having this overarching impact on humanity.
If you had told me 2 years ago that I was going to retire from being a Green Beret, bouncing around the world, deploying, doing Green Beret things and work for a nonprofit slinging barbecue, right? When people were in need, I would have laughed at you. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought this came together. But when I really sat back and I was looking for that right opportunity in retirement, when I distilled my entire career down in the military, it's about making a difference, right? It's a tangible impact in our world. And, there were a lot of opportunities, a lot of things thrown at me, but there was nothing that presented the opportunity to make a difference. What Stan and Will built wasn't just a food organization. It's an organization that makes a difference, right? We go into communities and give them hope. Everybody should have hope in their lives. That power of that one meal in disaster is unquestionably an important task, right? It makes a difference at that moment in time. Does it solve all the world's issues? No, it doesn't. But at that moment in time, it's insulating. It's not isolating. It's making a difference for that individual, that family. I knew I needed to be a part of this, and I'm so grateful that we took this opportunity, and I'm so excited about where OBR is going in the future.
Yeah, I mean, from my side, it was all about helping people. Barbecue just happened to be the tool, and the more people that we continue to bring out, the more volunteers we continue to get. That's where, the people ask me, so where do you get your satisfaction? That's probably one of the top 5 questions now that I get after, did you ever think, or can you believe? It was, and mine are twofold. Mine is when you hand somebody something as simple as a pulled pork sandwich and there's tears in their eyes and they're thanking you. And that person's going through so much. They lost their house, or their house has been underwater for a week, or, and they genuinely are heartfelt because the sandwich that you're giving them, right? And that sandwich, is that love that they're feeling from the people. That makes a difference. But the other side of it is just standing back and watching the community come out to sit there and help with the pulled pork, or help with the vegetables, or the whatever's being done, or is over there cleaning or doing the worst jobs, of cleaning greasy coolers and stuff like that. And they're doing it with a smile, and they're loving it, and that atmosphere of camaraderie and everything that's brought together. Those things that's what keeps me going. I mean, knowing that we're building something that's bringing a servant's heart, that's bringing people together for a common good, to help somebody when they're at their, maybe at their worst, and now being able to do it and bridge that gap from, hey, it's not always a disaster when people are at their worst. When that person has to make a decision between putting gas in the car to make it to work, or getting a hot, not nutritious meal, but at least a hot meal for their family that day, that's a big decision that somebody has to make. And someday we'll be able to serve more than, those every once in a while. But hopefully the movement out there from people that get inspired by these things help make that change in communities, because people shouldn't, and especially kids. We can argue about adults, we can talk about all those things all day long, but when it comes to kids, a kid should not go hungry. A kid shouldn't be going without something nutritious or hot to eat, on a regular basis. It happens from time to time. It happens at my own house from time to time. Hey, you're fending for yourself today. But it's not that they don't have access to it. And that's the problem, is there's still that access issue.
Yeah, so, one of the other programs we're looking at, we talk about all the other folks doing great things for this fight on hunger. We've got our educational piece with Barbecue Basic. We've got Our greenhouse we're going to try to launch in 2021 to gift to schools. But you still have kids that are going to miss that mark, right? We don't want to push the backpacks out. One of the things I said to Stan, look, I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to fight for pennies, nickels, dimes, and dollars. There's enough money out there. We need to work with people. It's through, combined efforts that we can make the biggest difference, right? We need to find like-minded organizations to do this. So what we're coming up with is a way to essentially crowdsource meals for schools, right? This will be a 2021 launch as well. It's dip jars or pay it forward boxes. You put in organizations. It has an account tied to it, so people can dip their check card, their credit card, in the denomination of 1 school meal, 2 school meals, whatever. It's tax, it's a tax write-off. A receipt comes out automatically, but it feeds those kids. The reason we're doing this goes back to my wife, Layla. Stan's wife helped urge him to build OBR. Layla would go in to our school in North Carolina, where it's like 78% of the meals were subsidized, and a lot of those kids didn't have meals still, right? Or they would get the wish sandwich, right? The bread and cheese, and it's just not enough, right? So we just started throwing money at the problem, right? We built an account and we put money in there, and if a kid didn't have enough money in their account or just didn't have money in general, they would use that account, right, to pay for their meals, and they didn't have that stigma of the subsidized lunch where it made them look different than their peers. They just got a hot meal, and no one had to be the wiser for it, right? And their foods, their families were fed. It was nourishing for the soul and the body. So we're going to take that, and we're going to do the economy of scale on it, right? We're going to start, 5 to 10 businesses in that community, and that's how we're going to fund those programs. We're also going to have food lockers that are open 365 days a year, right? Not to push people out, the backpack program can work with us, but we're going to work with like-minded organizations, nonprofits, people in communities to support themselves through our efforts, right? That's what it's all about, man.
That's awesome. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, to take that whole, everything that you said there, it really takes it and boil it down to it, is we can do so much more together than we can divided. Yeah. And if we can bring the like-minded people together, this will, make that movement that we're hoping for, that, everybody wants to eradicate it. We know that. I mean, there's so many programs out there. So let's all work together. Let's not fight against each other. Let's not try to, our program's not better than yours, because we need the backpack program. We need these other programs.
That's right.
Let's figure out how we all work together to where it becomes a concerted effort, and we bring those local businesses in the community that want to be part of that good to help pay for that and help champion it, so the general public who doesn't think about it every day in that community can walk in and at the end of their transaction add a school lunch.
That's right.
Man, good for you guys. That's amazing. Can you tell us, with all the future plans kind of laid out and more ideas coming, kind of right now, I guess it's November of 2019. How can people get involved right now, financially, time-wise? The biggest thing talking to coworkers of mine after yesterday was everybody was like, all right, let's do it.
It is. There's 3 ways everybody that's listening to this, everybody in this office, everybody back home can do something. Number 1 is you can go to our website, obr.org, and there's a volunteer button right up top. Click that, register. It's even easier if you have an iPhone or if you got an Android, you go to Google Play or to the App Store, download OBR Volunteer. That's all you have to type in. It'll pop up the app. You can register from there, and then you'll start getting push notifications if there's something in your area, whether it's a disaster, whether it's a non-disaster, it doesn't matter. Everything that is not a private event gets pushed out on there for opportunity for volunteers to come help. So that's the first way. Second way is the easy one, right? It's the donation that we need. Without major disasters this year, which is a great thing, but it also reduces the amount of income that comes in for programs because there isn't that awareness of this major disaster going on. So those people that don't give all the time or don't even think about it, it's not top of mind until they see it, haven't given this year. So make that donation. You have this time to the end of the year to maximize your year-end giving. And that's going to be a big focus of ours from now until the end of the year. We've got to do that. We've backed off the last few years because of major disasters at the end of the year. We've been tapping that well. We've been beating that drum. This year we'll make more of an effort. And the last one is you can't do you can't volunteer, you can't go out there, you don't have the money, share the message. Get on our social media. All of our, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, BBQ Relief. BBQ Relief is the handle for all three of them. You can find it out there. Type in, search Operation Barbecue Relief. We're on there. Share the message of what we're doing, whether it's in a community, doing a barbecue basic, out on a small disaster, wanting to give back, whatever it is this time of year. Share that message with your friends, because you may have friends that want to volunteer, want to donate. And hopefully there's some companies out there that see this and see the value, and that it aligns with the values of their company and want to get a hold of us. And that's pretty easy too. I mean, it's info@obr.org.
Excellent. Mr. Stan Hayes, Mr. Jay Collins, I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedule and braving the frozen tundra of Northeast Ohio along the way. So that said, we are going to have all of your information, links, what's it called? Apps to download, I guess. I'm a Gen Xer, I'm not a millennial, so it takes me a little while to get these, up on our website. Simply find it by going to certifiedangusbeef.com/podcast. And of course, your website can easily be found at
obr.org.
Excellent, guys. I can't tell you how grateful I am to be standing in, honestly, some of the best that humanity has to offer. Thank you so much for taking time.
Appreciate it.
And
We appreciate you having us on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck, guys. Back here on the Meat Speak podcast, powered by the Certified Angus Beef brand. Brian Schaaf, Chef Michael Ollier in the house, talking about Operation Barbecue. And Chef, we just heard from really two incredible individuals, two folks who really are, representation of some of the best that humanity has to offer. Can you talk about some of the involvement that you specifically, on behalf of Certified Angus Beef, has gotten to have with these gentlemen?
Sure. As they had mentioned, they are good representations of the epitome of what's good about barbecue. It's the community of barbecue, as they mentioned. I think that some of the things that I'd like to pull out of what they said is the cultivating a servant heart, and that just speaks to exactly where our brand is. And as I mentioned at the top of this segment, that we've been looking for ways for a while to work with them, and it's in the barbecue basics specifically where we found a sweet spot. So in 2019, what Stan had said, we had done 4 events, and that was kind of our toe in the water to an opportunity to do education for these first responders, the military, and those that are in that community with these guys. It's been fantastic. So we were at Fort Bragg for one. We've committed to we were at the Coast Guard up in Staten Island, 4 events through 2019. What's great is that we've got, as they talked about, proof of concept, meaning you put your toe in the water and see if this thing works, and then you dive in. And then 2020, this is the year of diving in, and we are locked in with them for 20 events through 2020, where we are committing as a brand to be part of the educational curriculum, including supplying products. So we're going to sponsor product for them for these events. And it's just something compelling to be part of. You're talking about, on average, a few dozen folks that come together, learn about barbecue. We get the opportunity to talk about what it means to be quality when you have the beef component. And it's just kind of woven into that education that they get so they can really take things home with them, these barbecue learning nuggets, right? They get to take those home with them. Very practical through 2 days. One is very educational, and then as the guys mentioned, they get to do a competition. That's pretty fun to be part of too. So that's been what we've been working on with them, and formalizing that in 2020 is going to be pretty exciting to be part of.
Outstanding, Chef. Well, certainly as the year progresses, we will we'll check back in to hear about some of the events that you have put on. As a reminder, recapping what Stan Hayes said, there are various ways that you can get involved, that you can help the cause. Obviously, money is always welcome. Funding is always welcome. You can also give time. There is an app. You can download it. It will because I get the updates from it. It will tell you if there is an event nearby that you can come volunteer to help with, or simply spread the OBR message, spread the Operation Barbecue message, share the love, tell people what they're about, and hopefully spur some other folks to also get involved and support what's a really, really good cause. So, Chef Michael Ollier, I appreciate you for popping in here to talk about Operation Barbecue.
My pleasure, my friend.
Excellent. If this is your first time listening to the Meat Speak podcast powered by the certified Angus beef brand, know that you can find us across a bevy of podcasting platforms, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or simply by going to certifiedangusbeef.com/podcast. And until next week, Chef, thanks for taking time.